Google calls it dangerous. Developers call it a piracy paradise. And tech giants have spent millions trying to shut it down. But with over 1 billion downloads, Aptoide might be the most important app store you've never heard of. What if I told you that a tiny company from Portugal is quietly changing how the entire world downloads apps, and that somehow they survived an all-out war with one of the most powerful companies on Earth? This story isn't just about apps. It's about control, about who decides what goes on your phone, and why Google and Apple are terrified of what happens next. For most of us, downloading apps feels simple. You tap the Play Store or the App Store, and that's it. But when you look closer, the whole system is strange. There are millions of apps out there, yet only 2 companies decide which ones you're allowed to install. And they take a massive 30% cut of almost all money flowing through their stores. Imagine your entire city having just one supermarket, and that supermarket controls what products exist and keeps 1/3 of every sale. We'd call that a monopoly. But in the app world, we accept it as normal, and that's exactly the world Aptoide wanted to challenge. Back in 2009, a computer science student named Paulo Trezentos had a bold idea. What if anyone could create their own app store? No giant corporation, no gatekeepers, no 30% tax. Just a decentralized system where thousands of small stores could exist side by side. That idea became Aptoide. Instead of one giant store like Google Play, Aptoide allowed anyone to create their own curated store. A store for games, a store for productivity apps, a store run by a blogger, whoever wanted one. And Aptoide only took 19% instead of 30%. A small difference for you and me, but a huge difference for developers trying to survive. So why isn't everyone using it? Because Google really doesn't want you to. Try installing Aptoide today and your phone almost panics. Play Protect throws up warnings. Pop-ups say it might harm your device. Sometimes it refuses to install at all. And to be fair, some of these concerns weren't baseless. Back in 2018, a security company found that around 1/4 of apps on Aptoide had privacy or security issues. And yes, many people used Aptoide to get paid apps for free. It gained a reputation as the Napster of app stores. Developers complained. Their paid apps were showing up in Aptoide without permission, and users didn't always know what they were downloading. But instead of leaning into the chaos, Aptoide tried something different. Around 2019, they introduced verified badges, their own anti-malware scanner, and a reporting system for pirated apps. It didn't fix everything. Sketchy apps still slipped through, but these changes weren't about perfection. They were about strategy, because Aptoide was preparing to take on Google directly. In 2020, Aptoide joined other developers and filed a massive antitrust complaint in the European Union. They argued that Google was abusing its power and blocking competition. Google responded immediately and aggressively. Play Protect began labeling Aptoide as full-on malware. Not small warnings, but giant red pop-ups telling users their device was in danger. Some people who already had Aptoide found their apps suddenly blocked. Google was using its control of Android to sabotage a rival. Aptoide's user base dropped 20% in a matter of days. For most companies, that would have been the end. But then, something unexpected happened. In 2022, the European Commission ruled that Google had abused its dominant position. They fined Google 4.34 billion euros and told them to stop blocking alternative app stores. Almost overnight, Aptoide gained legitimacy. Epic Games joined their side. Samsung showed interest. Even Amazon paid attention. For the first time, major companies were asking, why should Google and Apple control everything? By 2023, Aptoide had more than 300 million active users and over 10 billion downloads per year. In countries like Brazil and parts of Southeast Asia, Aptoide wasn't an alternative. It was the default. But then, disaster. A security breach exposed data from around 20 million Aptoide accounts. Emails, hashed passwords, and some payment information were leaked. Google reacted instantly. Security warnings, public campaigns, subtle, "we told you so." Messages everywhere. Developers pulled their apps. Users panicked. Aptoide's reputation collapsed. But instead of covering it up, Aptoide did something rare. They owned the mistake. Then they rebuilt everything from scratch. They hired top European cybersecurity experts, open-sourced their security protocols, launched a bug bounty program, and compensated affected users. By mid-2024, analysts were saying Aptoide's new system might be stronger than Google's in some areas. Sometimes something has to break before you can rebuild it properly. Today, Aptoide isn't just alive, it's influencing the entire industry. Pressure from Aptoide and others forced Google to drop fees in several regions. And the EU's Digital Markets Act now requires Apple and Google to allow alternative stores. Last month, Apple opened iOS to third-party app stores for the first time in history. It's limited, and Apple is fighting it, but the wall has cracked. And that crack exists partly because of Aptoide. So, is Aptoide safe now? Mostly yes. Its security is much better. Its ecosystem is cleaner. And for millions of people, it's simply more useful. Is it for everyone? Maybe not. If you prefer the polished, controlled world of Google or Apple, that's totally fine. But remember this, the mobile world doesn't have to be controlled by two companies. Aptoide proved there are alternatives, and sometimes the underdog actually wins. If you've used Aptoide or have thoughts about alternative app stores, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. See you next time.